The movie is titled The Social Network. This is the true story of the founder of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg. The storyline in this film is a bit confusing. Especially for those of you who are watching it for the first time, will be confused. The storyline is a mixture of forward and backward scenes. I myself had to watch it 3 times to understand the details. It's like in the middle of a movie, suddenly we are taken to the future and flashback to the past. And suddenly in the past, we are taken to jump again into the future. But Inspiring has summarized for you. The recap of this movie only uses one plot, which is the forward plot. Therefore, it is easier for you to understand. Let's just get straight to the story. At the beginning of the film, it is seen that young Mark Zuckerberg is still studying at Harvard, and he is chatting in a cafe with his girlfriend, Erica Albright. Erica is a very simple and kind person. She wanted to continue to listen to Mark's conversation, which was actually confusing. Maybe other girls will think that Mark is weird, but Erica is still loyal to accompany him. Perhaps it's because of his work. Mark is always in front of the laptop, so he doesn't know how to socialize properly. In the end, all the conversation was just talking about coding and programming. While things that were actually trivial, but instead Mark was taken seriously. Also, looking at his expression is really flat. People don't know if he's joking or serious. Reaching a chat where Mark doesn't appreciate Erica, about her association with his friends. In here, I myself not very clear what Mark is talking about. But the point is, Erica is offended, and in the end the two of them broke up. When they broke up, Erica still respected Mark, by not leaving immediately. Erica still accompanied Mark, and said it's better to just be friends. Long story short, Mark is really hurt because Erica has dumped him. He then ran back to his dorm at Harvard, and he too then wrote on his blog, and told all about Erica's ugliness on that blog. Like the size of her bra, which is small, and says that Erica is a bitch and so on. While drunk, Mark kept venting his pain in his blog posts. What I like from watching this is, when he is annoyed or angry, his brain is immediately activated, and he immediately gets a brilliant idea. So this Mark is venting his emotions not into anger, but into new ideas. Maybe it can be emulated for those of you who are now angry. Mark suddenly got the idea to create a site called facemask.com. Where facemask.com is a site to review every girl on campus, based on her sexiness. Then suddenly, Mark's loyal friend, Eduardo, arrives. Eduardo came after reading Mark's blog, that he had broken up with his girlfriend, Erica. Eduardo's intention was to comfort Mark. But surely when Eduardo came, he was asked by Mark to help create the facemask.com. Eduardo initially hesitated, because it would violate the law. It could be a defamation of the girl's reputation, and later all the girls on campus would be enemies. But Eduardo finally wanted to help, and he gave Mark the algorithm to rank the girls. Here you can say that all of them are good at IT because they study at Harvard, with a major in IT. Mark, Eduardo and 2 of their roommates then began to collect photos of girls by hacking their own campus website Harvard. Basically there will be 2 photos of girls, then later asked to choose the girl on the left or the one on the right, who is sexier. That's more or less how it works. Then after the site was launched, that night, the site immediately boomed. The site got 2,200 visitors in just 2 hours. The whole campus was excited. The boys there were having fun picking up photos of every girl on the site. Then came where Erica, Mark's ex-girlfriend, was reading Mark's blog, and she ended up crying, reading Mark's writing that badmouthed her. That night, almost everyone made fun of Erica too. The other girls were also angry with Mark, because his face mask site was considered to be demeaning to them. Finally after that night, Mark became enemies with all the girls in Harvard campus. Mark was then summoned to the Harvard office for trial, because he had hacked the Harvard site. But at the trial Mark didn't apologize, but instead he was proud because he managed to hack a major website like Harvard. Mark says thanks to him that, now Harvard knows that their site is unsafe, and he should get an award. In the end, Mark was sentenced to 6 months of probation, and if he did it again, Mark would be expelled from school. Mark's news then reached the ears of Cameron, Tyler, and Divya. These are the 3 people who are working on a project to create an online social media site called Harvard Connection. Then the 4 of them chatted and shared with each other. Mark also told them that, when he was in high school, he stated that he once created a music application, and then the application was given to Microsoft for free. The three of them explained to Mark about their idea. So later on, the Harvard Connection will become a social media platform, where, if we create an account there, we can fill in our interests, age, personal data, photos, and invite friends online. Mark then said that it was no different with Friendster and MySpace. There's nothing original there, it just carries the name Harvard. But in the end, Mark joined and wanted to help them do their project. However, in the middle of the road, Mark exited and had a new idea. He wanted to make his own online social media site. Mark also approached Eduardo, because he knew that Eduardo was quite rich. Mark needed capital to carry out his idea. Mark explained and tried to convince Eduardo that, when his face mask went viral, it didn't go viral because people only wanted to see and choose photos of girls. If it's just because of a photo of a girl, people can also look for it on other online sites. But people like face mask because the photos of the girls is actually people they know. Mark genuinely thinks that people actually want to know what activities that people they know do. Like their boyfriend, friends, family, and what they are doing. So Mark wants to make social media where if we open the pages of people we know, we can know what activities they are currently doing. This social media is different from the previous face mask, which was illegal because he collected his data by hacking other sites. This will no longer be necessary, because people are going to fill in their own data on the account page. Eduardo finally joined and helped Mark to supply his capital fund of $1,200. Eduardo will be the CFO or co-founder, and Mark will be the CEO. After 30 days of non-stop coding, Mark didn't get sleep for days. Finally, on November 1, 2004, there was a site called Facebook. However, after running for about a month, Mark is still not satisfied. He feels something is missing from the site. For days Mark thought about it, until he didn't sleep. Finally, Mark's college friend came over to Mark and asked about a girl in Mark's class named Stephanie. He asked if Stephanie already had a boyfriend, or if she was single, and, if she was single, was she looking for a boyfriend, or did she really not want to date? Hearing that, Mark was immediately shocked. Mark, who was confused, finally found what he felt was lacking. He realized that people didn't walk in public wearing necklaces, marked with a girlfriend or single. So from that, Mark was inspired to provide on his account page the status selection column. So all the guys in this world who are in love with a girl, then he can see the girl's Facebook page, if she is single or already has a boyfriend. And after all that, Mark finally felt that all the components on the site on Facebook were perfect. After days of not sleeping, finally the Facebook site was successfully released, and Mark finally fell asleep while sitting. Long story short, the Facebook site went viral, and almost everyone at Harvard was on it. It's so famous that there's a new slang, which is Facebook me. In the past, people who just met said text me or email me. Now people are saying Facebook me, so there's a new language there. Mark and Eduardo become famous. Every time on the road or at an event, someone always greets the two of them and says that they are fans. There are even two girls who are very aggressive and are big fans. The two girls forced them both go to the toilet. Okay, then at a restaurant, Mark accidentally saw his ex-girlfriend Erica. Mark apologized for his previous writing on a blog that had mocked her. But Erica was already really hurt and didn't want to see Mark's face again. No matter how famous Mark is now, Erica doesn't care anymore. Finally, Mark went home full of regret. Then when in their dorm room, Mark and Eduardo both got into an argument. Because Eduardo saw a lawsuit demanding the Facebook for stealing the idea from the Harvard Connection site plan, which Cameron, Tyler, Divya, and Mark had previously joined, but Mark left in the middle of the road. The three of them felt that the Facebook concept or the main idea had been stolen from their Harvard Connection idea. Well, Eduardo explained that as a friend, Mark should always tell him if there's a problem, because Eduardo will always be there to help Mark in every problem he faces. The demands from Cameron, Tyler, and Divya are still ongoing, but we'll talk about that at the end. Now Mark and Eduardo are accompanied by Eduardo's girlfriend, Christy. They are meeting Sean Parker. Sean Parker is the owner of Napster, a pirated music download site, and you could say he is a billionaire from his online site. Although now Sean Parker is bankrupt. He is planning to collaborate with Mark to develop the Facebook. But Eduardo doesn't like Sean because of his naughty style. From the time Sean arrived late, womanizer, and has been on drugs. After all the chats were over, and when the Sean Parker was about to leave, he told Eduardo and Mark that,
Drop the, just Facebook.
Since that, Mark and Eduardo have changed the name of their site to facebook.com. Along the way, Sean Parker always incites Mark in a bad direction. Like always asking Mark to go parties and teaching him how to get away with girls. Up to until the climax, Sean Parker incites Mark to kick Eduardo out of the team. But Mark still thinks twice about diminishing Eduardo. Then with all the relationships that Sean Parker has, he helped develop Facebook, which was previously only on one server, the American server, so that it could be used on all servers in the world. Finally, after the struggles of Mark and Eduardo all this time, they both started Facebook from the beginning. They got their first big investment of $500,000 and
We did it.
Mark finally able to have a new better Facebook office, but Mark ended up being instigated by Sean Parker. Mark finally kicked Eduardo out of the team. When Eduardo found out that his name had been crossed out and he was framed, Eduardo was angry and disappointed with Mark. Eduardo didn't think that he was betrayed by his best friend. Eduardo didn't think that Mark would choose Sean Parker, just because he had a big relationship to develop Facebook over his own best friend, who started Facebook together from the start. Eduardo finally left the Facebook office after Facebook was successful and reached its first 1 million users. Everyone in the office celebrated that achievement. Mark feels like something is missing. Ever since Eduardo left, he felt unhappy. However, his dream has been successful and has come true. During that night, while everyone was having a party celebrating the 1 million users. But Mark didn't go to the party, he still chose to stay in the office. While at the party, Sean Parker, who was at a drug party, suddenly raided by the police, and finally he was caught by the police. When Sean Parker called Mark to ask for help, Mark apparently didn't want to help, and instead kicked Sean Parker to leave the team too. It turns out that the one who called the police to raid Sean's drug party turned out to be Mark himself. Finally, Mark is now left alone at the top of Facebook as CEO. On Mark's journey to the top, he has sacrificed a lot of things. Starting from his ex-girlfriend Erica, then the 3 originators of the initial idea of social media, namely Cameron, Tyler, and Divya. Then Sean Parker, and of course he has also sacrificed his own best friend Eduardo. At the end of the movie, it is told that Mark Zuckerberg is facing lawsuit after lawsuit. From Cameron, Tyler, and Divya about the theft of their idea. Also a lawsuit from Eduardo Saverin, a friend of his. But in the end, they all reached an amicable agreement, and decided to no longer pursue their lawsuit. After all that was done, Mark Zuckerberg then opened his Facebook, and opened Erica's Facebook page. And he invited her as a friend. Mark, who until now has not been able to move on, kept on refreshing his browser to see if his friend invitation was accepted or not, and the movie end. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.